Hello guys! Welcome sa ating z-knowledgeTV. Sa AutoCAD video series na ito, I will introduce you the CAD software. Ang tutorial na ito ay para sa mga complete beginner in AutoCAD who has absolutely no knowledge to this software. So, dito sa AutoCAD video series, mag-i-start tayo sa basics. Pag-aaralan natin ng AutoCAD user interface, understanding the units, making basic drawings, we'll use object snaps to make precise drawings, working with layers and blocks, working with dimensions, and last, we'll print our drawing. So, lahat ng ito ay pag-aaralan natin dito sa ating tutorial. Pero, before tayo mag-start, don't forget to like this video and click the subscribe button para ma-notify kayo sa mga next videos. So, let's get started. Okay, so in our previous video, napag-aralan natin ang unang paraan sa pag-input natin ng data. Regardless kung anong types ng geometry ang i-create mo, you are constantly inputting data in one form or another. Una na dyan ang paggamit ng command line. Kung hindi nyo pa napapanood o gusto nyo ulit balikan yung mga naunang videos natin, pwede nyo i-click ang link sa description box ng video ito. Okay? So, sa video na ito, ating ipagpapatuloy ang pag-aaral natin about creating basic drawings. Dito ay i-explain natin ang different types of coordinate system. Ngunit, saan nga ba nagsimula ang ideyang ito? Bilang trivia lang, ang word na Cartesian ay nagmula sa mathematician na si René Descartes na binase niya sa kanyang ideya. Isang araw daw, nang si René Descartes ay nakahiga sa kanyang higaan, ay napansin niya ang isang fly or langaw sa may kisame. Namangha siya kung paano ma-describe ang lokasyon ng langaw hanggang sa napag-isip niya na yung isang corner ng kisame ay pwedeng gamitin as a reference point. Imagine the ceiling as a rectangular drawn on a piece of paper at sabihin natin na yung bottom left corner ay the reference point. You can specify the location of the fly by measuring how far you need to go in horizontal direction at how far you need to go in vertical direction para makuha mo ito. And yung dalawang numbers na yon ang fly coordinates. At sa example din iyon, ang ceiling ang coordinate plane. So, doon nag-come up o nagsimula ang word na Cartesian o yung tinatawag natin na Cartesian coordinate system. Okay? So, dito sa figure na ito, this is the UCS icon. So, ano at para saan nga ba itong UCS? Let's define it first. Okay? So, the coordinates of the World Coordinate System o yung tinatawag natin na WCS define the location of all objects and the standard views of AutoCAD drawings. However, WCS are permanent and invisible. So, since yung WCS ay hindi pwedeng ma-move o ma-rotate, dito nag-come up ang ideya ng UCS. AutoCAD provides a movable coordinate system called the User Coordinate System or UCS. The UCS is a movable Cartesian coordinate system that establishes the XY work plane, horizontal and vertical directions, axis of rotation, and other useful geometric references. You can change the UCS origin and orientation for convenience as you specify points, enter coordinates, and work with drawing aids such as ortho mode and the grid. In a drawing, by default, WCS and UCS have the same orientation. So, when you create and modify objects in a 3D environment, you can move and reorient the UCS in 3D modeling view. And para ma-determine natin ang positive axis direction of the z-axis, we can use the right hand rule. Okay? So, by rotating your hand, see how the X, Y, and Z axis rotate as you change the UCS. Okay? So, UCS is composed of stubs sticking out in the X direction, the Y direction, and the Z direction. Yung Z direction is hidden if you are working in 2D. So, malamang, dalawang direction lang siya kasi 2D tayo. Okay? So, the place where the stubs intersect is called the origin. If you imagine the x stubs extending out indefinitely, this is the x-axis. If you imagine the y stub extending out indefinitely, this is the y-axis. Any point along the floor can be given as xy, where x is a distance along the x-axis and y is a distance along the y-axis. Okay? So, ito yung example ng xy plane. So, meron tayong x-axis at y-axis. Okay? So, every object you draw is placed in either the World Coordinate System or WCS or a User Coordinate System or UCS. When you create 2D geometry, data input is ultimately passed to the software in the form of Cartesian or point xy or polar coordinates na merong distance at angle. So, pwede mong manually enter yung mga coordinates o infer them by picking a point sa drawing window. So, unahin natin ang concept ng Cartesian coordinate system. So, the Cartesian coordinate system is used to determine points in space that are specified distance from a set of perpendicular axes that intersect at the origin of the system. Conventionally, the x-axis is horizontal, with positive numbers signifying a move to the right and a negative number signifying a move to the left. Conventionally, the y-axis is vertical, with positive numbers signifying a move up and negative numbers signifying a move down. Okay, so ito ang example ng line drawn from the origin of the coordinate system of point 0, 0 with its endpoint at the coordinate of point 4, 6. Okay? So, to specify a Cartesian coordinate, type lang natin ng x and y coordinates and press enter. Halimbawa, para maiplot natin ang coordinate na 4 and 3, so create tayo ng line. Okay? So, click natin tong line icon. So, nakalagay dyan, specify first point. So, lagyan natin, ang unang point natin is yung coordinate na 4. Okay? O yung x natin, x-axis. Then, tab. Press natin yung tab. Then, 3. Then, press enter. So, kung papansin nyo, yung point na to, okay, is nasa coordinate siya ng 4 and 3. Meaning, meron tayong 4 step mula sa origin natin along x-axis. So, count tayo. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then, 3 step up. Okay? 1, 2, 3. So, meaning, itong point na to, yung tinatawag natin na coordinate 4, 3. Okay? So, skip natin. Yan. So, dito, sa ating status bar, at the bottom of the AutoCAD, meron tayong makikitang grid na pwedeng i-turn on or off. Some people like the grid on in order to facilitate counting along the x and y axis. So, yung F7 key is a quick way to toggle the grid on and off. So, try natin. So, click doon natin yung F7. Yan. So, nawala na yung grid natin. Then, para maibalik ulit natin yung grid, same pa rin. F7 pa rin. Yan. Or, simply, click natin yung Control G. Yan. Control G ulit. Yan. Control G, Control G. Okay? So, dito, ito yung tinatawag natin na grid. Okay? Ito yung grid mode. Okay? So, there's also a grid snap tool. So, ito naman yung tinatawag natin na grid snap tool or F9 key. So, which allows snapping to the grid. So, meaning, pwede mo daw bago-baguhin yan yung kada step mo. Okay? So, dito, ang makikita natin, every step is 1 unit. So, pwede natin gawin dyan. Pwede natin baguhin yung settings niya ng 0.5 para every unit, meron tayong 2 step. Okay? Or 2 box. Okay? So, kapag nag-right click tayo sa grid or grid snap tools, so, pag nag-right click tayo dito, so, may lalabas na settings. So, itong settings na to, ito yung snap settings. Kaya kung i-click natin yan, ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo, meron tayong grid X spacing at meron tayong grid Y spacing. So, ito yung pwede nyo baguhin. Pwede nyo gawin 0.5. Pwede nyo gawin 0.5 din yan. Ibig sabihin, dalawang step yung makikreate natin kada isang unit. Okay? So, isa pang tool na makakatulong sa atin ay ang paggamit ng Auto Mode or F8 key naman. Okay? So, ito yung Auto Mode o yung tinatawag natin na F8 key. So, kapag daw click natin yung F8 key, mag-on off lang naman itong Auto Mode. Okay? So, dito ay i-constrains niya ang cursor movement to the horizontal and vertical directions lang. Okay? So, laging ganun lang yung i-create niya na direction. Okay? So, bali matatakil natin na iba pang detalye nito sa next video natin in precision method. So, next ay polar coordinates. A polar coordinate is a point in the coordinate system that is determined by a distance and an angle. Polar coordinates are named for their pole, the reference point to start counting from, which is similar in concept to the origin. Polar coordinates employ one radial distance and one angle. By convention, the angle is measured counterclockwise from the x-axis. The angle signifies the direction, and the distance is how far to go in that direction from the pole or from the reference point. Polar coordinates in AutoCAD are given as r angle degrees, where r is the radial distance, then yung angle is the less than sign, but in this case represents the angle. Degrees is the value of the angle in degrees. So, tulad sa Cartesian coordinates, polar coordinates are employed as a sub-command. The analog to ortho mode is yung tinatawag nating polar tracking o F10. So, dito sa status bar natin, okay? So, ito yung tinatawag natin na polar tracking or F10 key. So, polar tracking restricts cursor movement to specify angles. The user can specify the acceptable angle increments by right-clicking the icon. So, ito yung ortho mode at polar tracking. So, bali, matatakil natin na iba pang detalye nito sa next video natin in precision method pa rin. Okay? So, ito naman na example ng line drawn from the origin of the coordinate system, point 0, 0, with a length of 7 units and an angle of 45 degrees. So, to specify a polar coordinate, type the distance less than sign angle, halimbawa, 7 less than sign 45, where distance equals the distance traveled from the specified origin point and angle equals the angle from the x-axis. So, halimbawa tayo. So, i-plot natin ang polar coordinate 8 less than sin 90. So, create tayo ng line. So, click natin itong line icon. Yan. So, dito sa command line natin, so, type natin yung 8 less than 90. So, then press enter. Yan. So, dito, makikita natin yung point is nasa along y-axis na ilang hakbang siya o ilang step siya. So, 8 dapat yan kasi 8 yung distance natin from the origin. So, from origin, so, count tayo. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, meaning, itong point na to ay yung tinatawag natin na 8 less than sin 90. So, bakit naman siya nasa along y-axis? Kasi yung angle 90 degrees natin ay nasa y-axis lang siya o positive y-axis. Okay? So, skip natin. So, next natin ay yung titawag natin na polar angle. So, the default polar angle is measured counterclockwise from the zero angle position. The default zero angle is in the east compass direction. Ito yung na-discuss natin sa setting the zero base angle sa previous video natin na setting the units. Maaari nyong balikan yung topic natin na ito sa link sa description box. Okay? So, the following illustration shows how angles are defined with a polar coordinate. So, this angle measurement applies to entering coordinates working with arcs and rotating objects. Okay? So, next ay pag-aaralan naman natin ang absolute and relative coordinates. So, when you type coordinates, they can be in the form of an absolute or a relative coordinate. An absolute coordinate represents a specific point in the current coordinate system relative to the origin point 0, 0. To enter an absolute coordinate, type the values as a Cartesian coordinate xy or polar coordinate distance angle. A relative coordinate is a point located from a previously selected point. To enter a relative coordinate, select your first point, then proceed to the next coordinate point with the at symbol. For example, at 15 angle 30, which would mean 15 units at 30 degrees from the last point selected. And at 15, 30 would mean 15 units in the positive x direction and 30 units in the positive y direction from the last point selected. So, tandaan natin ito. So, entering coordinates. You can enter coordinates anytime the software is in point acquisition mode. So, kapag yung command line is prompting you para i-specify yung point or distance, so, doon tayo makakapag-enter ng coordinates. Next, every drawing contains the World Coordinate System or WCS. The WCS is identical in every drawing and cannot be altered. So, example, kapag yung object natin ay i-place natin at the absolute coordinate 15, 15, would be positioned sa parehong location in any drawing. Okay? So, unless you specifically define a user coordinate system, all geometry you create is drawn relative to the WCS. Okay? So, ito yung example natin ng absolute and relative coordinates. So, let's take an example for absolute coordinate. So, absolute coordinate entry is default. Absolute coordinate entry always counts mula sa origin. Kaya when drawing lines, AutoCAD is ready to place the next vertex wherever you tell it to go. So, una, type natin yung L o yung alias ng line. So, L, then press enter. Yan. So, after that, type natin yung 4, 6 on the command line and press enter dito. So, type natin yung 4, 6. Press enter. Yan. So, magkikreate na siya ng first point niya. So, review natin. So, dapat 4 step dapat siya from the origin along x-axis. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, next, 6 step naman siya up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, meaning, ito na yung coordinate natin na 4, 6. Next, type natin yung 5, 3. Press enter. Yan. So, nag-create na siya ng second point niya. Okay? So, review ulit natin. Dapat 5 steps siya along x-axis from origin. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then, 3 step up. 1, 2, 3. So, meaning, tama yung point na na-create para kay 5, 3. Okay? So, pagka-press natin ng enter, so madi-deactivate na yung command natin na line. Okay? Yan. So, napag-create na siya ng line o line segment. Okay? So, dito ay sinasabi natin sa AutoCAD na mag-draw tayo ng line starting 0.46 and ending at 0.53. It made a segment between those 2 points. Yung unang point ay 4 to the right, okay, and 6 up from the origin. The second point is 5 to the right and 3 up from the origin. So, the line is the shortest distance between those 2 points. So, dito sa absolute coordinate ay lagi tayong nagbibilang mula sa origin. Okay? So, next, para naman kay relative coordinate. So, AutoCAD does not count from origin or 0, 0. Instead, yung reference point ay yung previous point in the drawing. So, let's draw another line and see what it looks like compared sa nauna. So, type ulit tayo ng L or alias ng command line natin. Okay? So, L, then press enter. So, sa command line natin dito, so type natin yung 4, 6 ulit. 4, 6, then press enter. Yan. So, meaning, dapat dun pa rin siya sa first point niya na 4, 6. Next, type naman natin yung at symbol, then 5, 3. So, at 5, 3. So, then press enter. Yan. So, papansin nyo, nag-iba na yung location ng second point natin. Okay? So, sa unang drawing natin, location ng 5, 3 natin is nandito, o ng second point natin is nandito. So, ngayon, ang location na ng second point natin is nandito. So, then press enter to finish the line command. Yan. So, dito ay marirecognize naman ni AutoCAD yung at symbol as instructions to count using relative coordinates. So, pansinin natin yung pinagkaiba ng dalawang line. While both lines ay nagsimula at the same point, okay, now which is 4, 6, this time, for the second vertex, AutoCAD counted 5 to the right and 3 up mula sa 0.46. So, meaning, count tayo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then, 3 up. 1, 2, 3. So, ito na yung second point natin. Okay? So, next, yung relative coordinates also work with polar input. So, let's delete the line na drawing natin. Okay? So, again, type ulit tayo ng line. O, type natin ng L para sa alias na line. Yan. Then, press enter. So, type natin ulit yung 4, 6. So, 4, 6. Then, press enter. So, next, type naman natin yung at 5 less than 30. Okay? So, then press enter. So, again, para ma-close natin o ma-deactivate natin yung command, press ulit natin yung enter. So, itong line ay nag-start at 0.46, which is input in absolute Cartesian coordinates natin. Okay? So, meaning, meron daw siyang 4 steps along x-axis, then 6 steps up. Okay? So, itong point natin na 4, 6 became the pole, or yung tinatawag natin na reference point for the relative coordinates. So, we input the polar coordinates as at 5 angle 30, which means the length of the line is 5. And the angle counterclockwise from the x-axis is 30 degrees. So, meaning, possible daw na ito na yung magiging x and y axis natin. Okay, ito. Yan. So, dito, along x-axis na ito, So, meron daw nakikreate dyan na 30 degrees counterclockwise from the x-axis. Okay? So, that's all. So, dito na nagtatapos ang discussion natin about different types of coordinates system. At para sa iba pang videos na gusto nyo pang maunawaan o malaman about sa AutoCAD, so huwag nyo kalimutang mag-subscribe at i-click ang bell para maging updated kayo sa ating mga next videos. So, maraming salamat!